Good evening, I'm Cheryl Fox. Tonight on News 5, Singapore companies expanding overseas will be able to get government funding to implement online strategies. They can defray up to 70% of costs. A gift from Singapore. It's completed and delivered one of the major rebuilding projects in a quake-hit part of Japan. The daughter of Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim is detained for allegedly making seditious remarks in Parliament. Local firms venturing overseas will be able to tap government funding to do business online. Companies can defray up to 70% of costs in implementing an online business strategy. This comes under recent enhancements in the budget to help firms internationalize.
It's usually a daunting task for Singapore firms to enter a foreign market. Trade agency International Enterprise Singapore therefore wants companies to use the digital space to help overcome challenges.
The proliferation of smartphones and other digital media devices has opened up a whole new world of market access for companies. More and more, it seems businesses cannot avoid having an online strategy, especially when they're entering new markets.
The Market Readiness Assistance Scheme provides grants to help firms set up overseas and identify business partners. Under Budget 2015 enhancements, the scheme's been expanded to help defray costs in new areas like e-commerce, marketing and trade show participation. The funding can help cover promotional activities, online and digital marketing, and rental and construction costs for companies participating in trade shows. Trade officials hope Singapore companies will take advantage of this to devise strategies to capture foreign markets via the virtual space.
The rise of the Asian consumer is a very big part of our internationalization story. Many of our companies go overseas to the region as well as China and India because of the growing middle class and the rising Asian consumer. And a lot of these rising Asian consumer is very familiar with the internet.
Geared towards helping small and medium enterprises, enhanced grants will be able to cover up to 70% of costs for qualifying activities till March 2018. Previously, the grants only defrayed 50% of costs. The Association of Small and Medium Enterprises has urged firms to take advantage of the slew of budget measures to strike while the iron is hot. It says in the coming 3 years or so, companies that don't step beyond Singapore's shores risk being overtaken by foreign competition.
Singapore has a very good brand. Whether you talk about economically as a financial hub, whether it's government, whether it's Singapore, quality of Singapore managers, whether we're trustworthy, whether we're reliable, we're a fantastic brand. And, you know, if you come out of Singapore and if you don't position your company's products or services well, I think you're actually doing yourself a disservice.
The association wants to explore with trade authorities the possibility of having shared services in foreign markets for companies to tap to help ease their internationalization efforts.
Singapore's foreign minister has opened a community center in Japan's Rikuzen Takata city, which was devastated by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. The center is a gift from the people of Singapore, and it's among the major rebuilding projects undertaken in this quake-hit region.
Rikuzen Takata is in the remote coastal area in Iwate Prefecture. Many buildings and trees were demolished by the tsunamis. This miracle pine is the only tree that survived and stands as a reminder of the devastation after it was reconstructed for $1.2 million through local donations. 1,759 residents were killed in what's regarded as one of Japan's greatest destruction. Minister Shanmugam visited the site and viewed the reconstruction efforts.
The scale of the rebuilding efforts required is tremendous, but at the same time, the progress is impressive under the leadership of the mayor and the people here. And you see effectively mountains being carved out, the soil being used to raise the ground level by 14 meters. It's a tremendous effort and a testament to Japanese ingenuity and engineering skills.
Rikuzen Takata is rebuilding itself with a state-of-art pipeline where soil from the mountains is transported downhill so that new homes can be built on higher ground.
Singapore has lent a hand to Rikuzen Takata in hopes of contributing to its rebuilding effort. In fact, the city-state has supported 4 reconstruction projects in different tsunami-devastated cities in the northeast coast. This community center is the last of them and the largest. It's worth $11.1 million and built with donations from the people of Singapore.
Our sympathy and unity with Japan led to a tremendous outpouring of support and contribution to help the victims of the disaster.
Besides opening the community center, Mr. Shanmugam also unveiled a plaque of friendship between Singapore and Rikuzen Takata.
東日本大震災が起こる前と同じような形で使用できますし、合わせていろんな人たちからお世話になってきたわけですから、今度はその人たちと市民を引き合わせる場にもなるんじゃないかなということで、今すごく使わせてくださいという意見が殺到している状況です。
The first such meeting was hosted by the UN in the Singapore Hall. It featured disaster prevention on those with special needs.
We have to require the people and the governments of the world to come together to deal with this on an urgent basis. And we are very happy that the focus of this conference is also on being inclusive, because for a society to move ahead, we need everyone to be recognized and participate in society.
The hall will also serve as an evacuation center if another disaster hits. Also being built in the area, a park and public housing for 300 households. Michio Ishida, Channel News Asia, Rikuzen Takata, Iwate Prefecture.
The president of cyclone-hit Vanuatu is appealing for help from the international community. He says the Pacific nation needs to rebuild everything after the devastation caused by Cyclone Pam.
After all the developments that has taken place, all this development has been wiped out. So it means that we'll have to start anew again.
The cyclone wiped out 90% of the buildings in the country's capital, Port Vila. 8 people have been confirmed dead, but the toll is expected to climb. Communication has been cut off with many of the islands outside of the main island of Afate. Aid agencies have described conditions there as the most challenging that they've ever faced, with logistics even harder to handle than during Super Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. So far, relief efforts from Australia and New Zealand have arrived in the battered capital of Port Vila. Malaysian police have detained the daughter of opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim for alleged sedition. Nurul Izzah is accused of making seditious remarks in Parliament last Tuesday. The vice president of the PKR party had spoken out against her father's imprisonment for sodomy and read out parts of a speech written by him. Mr. Anwar was not allowed to attend the Parliament session. Channel News Asia's Sumisha Naidu has more from outside the police station where Ms. Nurul Izzah is being held.
In that speech that Nurul Izzah delivered, she did touch on the role of the judiciary and allegedly made some comments that were viewed as seditious about the judiciary. Now, a Barisan Nasional and a former MP lodged a police report against Nurul Izzah for her comments, and this led to a police investigation. Nurul Izzah was called into the police station today, where she was subsequently detained and is now being held overnight in the Jinjiang lockup before she will have a remand hearing at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
And coming up on News 5, Bukit Batuk's rat-infested hill is now laid bare. We find out why after this break.
Mitsubishi Electric StarMax Aircon saves you energy and money, is easy to clean, and is the quietest.
Welcome back. You're with News 5. More private homes were sold by developers last month, despite fewer units being launched. Excluding executive condominiums, 382 units were sold last month, compared to 374 units in January. That's a 2% increase. Now, according to the Urban Redevelopment Authority, this increase is largely due to the sales at Sims Urban Oasis. Located at Sims Drive, the 1,000 over-unit project was the only new launch last month. Out of the 200 units launched in February, about 110 units were sold at a median price of about $1,400 per square foot. The rest of the sales were from projects launched some time back. The next best performer was the Skywoods at Dairy Farm Heights, which sold 23 units at a median price of about $1,250 per square foot. Mixed development Citygate at Beach Road moved 22 units at a median price of more than $1,800 per square foot. The other top performers were Symphony Suites at Yishun Close and Lakeville at Jurong Lake Link. Patients in intermediate and long-term care can now get subsidized medication directly from those caring for them, instead of having to go to a polyclinic or to a public hospital. The change began this year. Vamita Mohandas checks out the benefits.
Since 2011, Madam Kao Siu Eng has been a resident at All Saints Home. She suffers from a host of chronic conditions like high blood pressure and diabetes. Her caregiver, who's her older brother, used to bring her to the pharmacy at Changi General Hospital every 6 months to get her medication at a subsidized rate. But this was physically challenging for him as he had to manage her while she was in a wheelchair. Previously at All Saints Home, it used to see about 5 patients a week having to travel out of the nursing home to a public pharmacy to get their drugs at a subsidized rate. But since the scheme was introduced earlier this year, these patients, including Madam Kao, have greatly benefited because it has reduced their hassle of having to travel out of the nursing home to get their drugs at a subsidized rate. So all staff have to do is to scan their prescription over here, fax it over to the public pharmacy that will get the medication ready as soon as possible. Not only does Madam Kao save money on her taxi fare, which is about $10 per trip, the siblings also save on the time spent traveling to and from the public pharmacy.
So whenever my brother fetch me there, after the consultation over already, then he will ask me to take the medicine. Then I have to go to the pharmacy there and wait for my medicine. And then they will give me either 1 month, 2 months. Sometimes take half an hour, sometimes take 1 hour, you know. Even you finish your consultation already, you still have to wait there at the pharmacy there for your medicine. And then wait for them to call from one queue to another queue. It takes a lot of time being wasted.
It has also helped to reduce wastage of medication.
When you go to polyclinic, you take huge bulks of medication to last you a few months. And when there's a change of the resident's condition, doctor will reorder the medication, readjust the dose. Then some of the drugs will really go to waste, and they will give you a fresh supply of medication. Right. At this point of time, wastage is really cut because of this, it's only 2 weeks supply.
The aim is to have all eligible ILTC service providers on this scheme by next March. Some 40,000 MOH subsidized ILTC patients a year will benefit from the scheme.
You may remember the rat-infested hill at Bukit Batok, which made the news last year. Well, it's now been cleared of a significant amount of vegetation there, but this measure is not believed to be related to the rodents.
This is what the hill beside Bukit Batok MRT station used to look like, lush with greenery. Now the land is barren. Several trees have been removed, and what remains is patchy grass. In December last year, pest controllers started extermination efforts after rats were discovered there. By early January, the area was declared rat-free. So the exterminators say the current clearance of the land may have nothing to do with the rodents.
I believe they are doing their so-called probably like routine maintenance, but this time now maybe they do a bit more. But then it actually comes after our exercise, because early on they actually don't want to do this earlier because not to jeopardize with the whole rodent removal exercise.
When contacted, the Housing and Development Board says it is carrying out some clearance to better maintain the land. HDB says the bare portion of the land is temporary as returfing is being carried out. Pest Control says the main factor which could contribute to the rats returning is if they were to have a continuous supply of food. Now, this could result from people not disposing of their waste properly or the irresponsible feeding of strays. So far, the Pest Control Company has not discovered any new activities or new migration of rodents in the area.
Still to come on 5, we revisit childhood memories of the past.
Stealing fruits from the farmers.
McDonald's was like a once-in-a-while thing.
You may be able to identify with some of them, hear their stories, and find out what's being done to preserve those memories. It's not surprising that incidents of bad behavior have gone viral in the age of the internet, but so have stories of good deeds. There are online groups out there who strive to make the internet a more inspiring space. And one of those groups is called The Hidden Good. It's put up some 30 social experiments to showcase the good in Singaporeans. And for its efforts, it's been recognized by the Media Literacy Council. Take a look.
This was one of their social experiments, which was meant to see if people would react differently to a businessman or beggar collapsing. They found that it didn't matter how the person was dressed. Singaporeans helped both parties.
Media is so fast-burning, it's such a powerful tool, and when used responsibly, it can be very constructive and build people up and build societies up rather than tearing them down.
I would say that it has changed my life because it has enabled me to see a different side of Singapore that I have not seen before. Like, I used to think that Singaporeans were very selfish, but from experience with The Hidden Good, I feel that Singaporeans are actually very loving and very kind.
Deepa Swaminathan is one citizen whose good deeds have gone viral. Her account of giving migrant workers here who were caught in a storm food and shelter started gaining positive responses recently.
So many people have to say this has inspired us to do something. I hope that really translates to action and it's not sort of a momentary reaction. But whatever it is, it's a good sentiment to propagate. And, you know, even if it relates, to or translates to sort of 1 out of every 10 people doing something better, then I think it's been worth it.
So it goes to show that positive stories can go a long way in influencing people's lives.
And finally, we've heard that life was simpler back in the 1960s or 70s. But was growing up then really all that different? In our SG50 special report, our reporter explores some of Singaporeans' favorite childhood memories and finds out what's being done today to preserve them.
Clement Ong remembers growing up at Mei Ling Street 30 years ago. He would spend hours playing soccer here, buy pens and erasers at his neighborhood shop, and listen to his favorite songs at home.
One thing I remember the most is playing in the rain. Playing in the rain where the water is filled up. I would run around the drain and get soaked.
Today, Clement is a father of 2 teenagers, and their childhood is quite different from his own.
Nowadays, it's much easier for friends to hang out because you can just send a text message and ask them to meet at so-and-so at what time. Yeah, whereas last time, you only got to see the friends in your neighborhood.
Singapore turns 50 this year, and for many, growing older brings fonder memories of youth.
Going to McDonald's was like a once-in-a-while thing, you know.
Fishing in the stream, stealing fruits from the farmers, you know. At some those kampong area where they fence up the area, they got rambutan trees that look so appetizing.
The Singapore Memory Project is one initiative to collect the country's memories. It started in 2011 as part of the National Library's archives. It also includes a web portal for Singaporeans to deposit memories and stories.
The biggest appeal to Singaporeans when they see an old photograph of Raffles Place that they've never imagined, they are suddenly reminded that Singapore is actually changing very quickly, and it's good to hold on to some parts that are still familiar to them.
The project began with 33,000 stories. It has collected about 1.4 million today. And the most popular? Memories of school and toys. And you could also track Singapore's development through the way people play.
In the 60s and 70s, I guess people were a bit more, they're a bit more adaptive, all right? They could improvise. So simple things like playing with a pong-pong fruit that dropped to the ground and use it for hantam bola. Then with the boom in Singapore's industrialization and with public housing on the rise, people started playing in mosaic playgrounds. So there's definitely a trajectory of play that you can see in Singapore. And interestingly, it corresponds with certain milestones in national history.
The project culminates with a series of exhibitions this year. The series is called Past Forward and celebrates Singapore's memories while looking ahead.
And that's News 5. Good night.